all the talent in this kid that had gone to waste. I was on the phone with his mom in 5 minutes, and she told me she had just gotten out of rehab and could use my advice. I didn't know what I could tell him that could help, but I left my number for him anyway. That night in bed, I kept thinking about Mrs. Novak asking me to give him some advice. Could I really help him? Could I actually make a difference? It felt strange that we both had started out at the same level, yet ended up so completely different. By the time I got a hold of Brandon the next day, I'd made my decision that he should come to live with me while he cleaned up his act. At least I could look after him and give him a hand up and help him get back on the right track. We filmed CKY3 in a movie called Haggard. In Haggard, I gave Brandon a part where he played a drug dealer. I also made a behind-the-scenes documentary for Haggard. Half of it became about Brandon's drug addiction. Before I knew it, I was getting fan mail about the movie, and everyone asked, "Whatever happened to Brandon Novak?" Well, I'll tell you what happened. He went right back on heroin as soon as he had the chance. While he lived at my house, he was always acting shady, and soon all the skateboarding gear that my sponsors were sending to my house was disappearing. Skateboards, wheels, trucks, decks, sunglasses, clothes. Brandon swore he wasn't stealing them, but who else would have? My parents? Soon enough, everyone at Philly's FDR skate park was telling me that Brandon was selling my gear for cash. Soon he started borrowing money from my friends and never paid them back. Then jewelry started disappearing from my mother's room. Then my brother Jess's CDs started to disappear, and everything that had once been in the medicine cabinet was gone except for a box of Band-Aids. Soon my mom had to hide her purse, and the whole family had to find hiding places for anything that was valuable. Meanwhile, Brandon was taking the bus back to Baltimore on a regular basis for the most unbelievable reasons in the world, and I can still remember a few. He had to help his mother move a heavy piece of furniture. His mom was sick, and he had to look after her dog. And finally, he had to go back to get his favorite pair of jeans. Your favorite pair of jeans? Are you kidding me? Whenever he returned from Baltimore, he had a glazed look in his eye that told us the real reason he went home, obviously, to buy more heroin. At that point, my parents and I realized that you can't get a junkie off heroin unless he's ready to make the decision to quit. And Brandon clearly hadn't made the decision. We soon realized that it would be best for all of us if he left our house before something happened that would ruin our relationship for good. 3 years later, I got a call from Brandon. He told me he had been clean for a few months, and for some reason I believed him. He came to my house, and I let him live with me for a while. He really did seem clean, and I put him on Viva La Bam and my weekly radio show. Having Novak around was always entertaining because he had crazy, insane stories about being strung out, and these stories would usually leave the listeners with their mouths open and in shock, saying, "Are you serious?"